The Galactic Council chamber stretched 3 kilometers across, a monument to 10,000 years of civilization. Crystalline walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, translating thoughts into visible language. 200 species gathered in the orbital station above the binary stars of Theta Prime, their representatives floating in gravity wells tailored to each physiology. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood alone in the defendant's circle, her simple black suit a stark contrast to the elaborate biology surrounding her. Behind her, holographic displays showed Earth. Blue, green, defiant. High Arbiter Thelnox of the Krell Ascendancy raised 3 of his 6 arms. His chitinous face bore no expression humans could read, but his telepathic voice boomed through every mind present. Humanity stands accused of unauthorized expansion. 63 colony worlds in 70 years. You breed like plague organisms. You consume resources without permission. You refuse neural integration with the collective consciousness. Elena's jaw tightened. She had prepared for this moment during the entire 6-month journey. We followed every colonization protocol. We submitted genetic samples, resource reports, and cultural assessments. We've harmed no one. You exist without permission, said Matriarch Viesera, her serpentine body coiling around her hover platform. The Scythian Empire controlled 400 systems through careful genetic engineering and patience. Your species appeared on the galactic stage only 1 century ago. In that time, you have expanded more aggressively than any species in recorded history. We grow because we must, Elena replied. Earth has 12 billion people. We need space to live, to breathe, to be. Then you should have evolved slower, Thelnox said coldly. The galaxy has order. Your chaos threatens that order. Around the chamber, alien species murmured agreement. The Vorta Collective, beings of pure energy contained in crystalline matrices, pulsed with irritation. The Drex hegemony, massive bear-like creatures covered in metallic fur, growled their displeasure. Even the small, peaceful Limnari chittered nervously, their antennae twitching. Elena looked at them all. She saw fear masquerading as authority. They feared humanity's potential, not its actions. Then what do you propose? She asked. Thelnox's mandibles clicked. Banishment. We will transport your entire star system, sun, planets, all humans, to the Void Zone, a region of space outside galactic borders, where no civilized species ventures. You will survive or perish on your own merits. If you survive 200 years, we will reconsider contact. Gasps echoed through Elena's mind, though not from aliens. The human delegation behind the viewing screen, generals, scientists, diplomats, erupted in protest. But Elena remained still. The Void Zone, she said quietly, where spatial anomalies tear ships apart, where stars die young, where species go to be forgotten. Precisely, Thelnox confirmed. You claim to be adaptable. We shall see. Elena felt her heart hammering, but her voice stayed level. And if we refuse, then we will remove you by force. Your sun will be extinguished. Your worlds will freeze. You will die with dignity rather than struggle without it. Silence fell across the chamber. 200 species waited for humanity's response. Elena thought of Earth, of her daughter playing in gardens in New Sao Paulo, of the colonies, brave pioneers on distant worlds, of humanity's brief, bright existence among the stars. They had reached for greatness, and the galaxy had slapped their hand away. How long do we have? She asked. 1 solar cycle, 52 Earth weeks. Elena nodded slowly. She closed her eyes, reached for the quantum communicator implanted in her spine, and connected with Earth's leadership. The conversation lasted 3 seconds in compressed data stream. President Morrison, the UN Security Council, the Colony Federation, all agreed. She opened her eyes and looked directly at Thelnox. We accept your judgment. Banish us to the void. We will not beg for mercy from those who offer none. But remember this moment. Remember that you had the chance to embrace us, and you chose exile instead. Thelnox's telepathic laughter rippled through the chamber. Brave words from a species that will be extinct in a decade. We have sent 67 species to the void. None survived more than 30 years. Your defiance means nothing against reality. Then you have nothing to fear from us, Elena said. The vote, arbiter. Let the galaxy decide. The vote took 4 minutes. Only 12 species abstained. 3 voted against banishment. 185 voted to exile humanity to the void. Elena memorized their faces, their names, their species. The judgment is rendered, Thelnox declared. Humanity is banished. May your atoms return peacefully to the cosmos. Elena turned and walked from the chamber. Behind her, aliens celebrated. Ahead of her, humanity prepared for the greatest challenge in its history. They thought the void would kill them. They had no idea what humanity would become. The translocation took 6 months. The Galactic Council employed ancient precursor technology. Devices so powerful they could fold space itself. Massive pylons, each the size of Earth's moon, surrounded Sol system. They hummed with impossible energies, building a dimensional envelope. On Earth, people watched the stars change. Constellations shifted. The Milky Way's bright band faded. New, alien nebulae appeared on the horizon, stained purple and red by exotic radiation. Commander Marcus Chun stood in the observation deck of Orbital Station Unity, humanity's largest space habitat. Through reinforced windows, he watched reality tear itself apart and reform. His crew of 200 scientists, soldiers, and engineers worked frantically at their stations. Translation in 30 seconds, called Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, chief astrophysicist. Her hands danced across holographic controls. Gravitational shear is increasing. All ships report secured positions. Marcus gripped the railing. Humanity had prepared as best they could. Every ship was docked. Every station anchored. Every colony world's population sheltered underground. But no one knew if it would be enough. 10 seconds. The universe screamed. Marcus felt it in his bones. Reality rejecting them, pushing them out. The sun flickered like a dying bulb. Earth's magnetic field collapsed and reformed 3 times in 2 seconds. Translation complete, Sarah announced, her voice shaking. We are no longer in the Milky Way proper. We are in the void. Silence fell across the deck. Then someone whispered, "Look!" Through the windows, the new sky emerged. They hung in a sparse region of space, surrounded by dying stars and strange nebulae that defied known physics. Colors existed here that had no names, shades between infrared and ultraviolet that hurt to perceive. Spatial distortions rippled like heat waves, twisting starlight into impossible geometries. And in the distance, hulks, thousands of them. Ships, Marcus breathed. Alien ships. Sarah magnified the view. Massive vessels, some kilometers long, drifted among the anomalies. Their hulls were breached, their engines cold. Dead civilizations, trapped in humanity's new prison. Thelnox was right, muttered Lieutenant Park from the tactical station. This place is a graveyard. Marcus straightened. No, it's an opportunity. Those ships represent technology, resources, knowledge. Every species that died here left behind something we can learn from. Commander, the radiation levels are 300% above anything we've ever experienced, Sarah warned. Solar output has increased 17%. We're receiving exotic particles that don't interact with matter the way they should. Our shielding wasn't designed for this. Then we adapt our shielding, Marcus said firmly. Send a message to all colonies, all stations, all ships. Emergency protocols are now in effect. We have work to do. Over the next weeks, the reality of the void became clear. Space itself was hostile here. Faster-than-light travel was unreliable. Routes that should take days instead took weeks, or deposited ships light-years off course. Communication was hampered by interference. Sensor readings were often false. The laws of physics bent in unpredictable ways. Colony reports flooded in. Agricultural yields dropped on 12 worlds due to increased radiation. 3 mining outposts lost contact entirely, consumed by spatial anomalies. The colony on Proxima Centauri B reported seeing shapes moving in the void between stars, impossible things that defied explanation. Earth's government held an emergency session. President Morrison addressed the world. Citizens of Earth, of our colonies, of humanity everywhere. We face the greatest challenge our species has ever known. The galaxy has exiled us to die. But we will not die. We will adapt. We will survive. And one day, we will return stronger than they can possibly imagine. The response was immediate. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Engineers proposed radical new shielding designs. Scientists began mapping the anomalies, searching for patterns. Humanity, faced with extinction, chose defiance. Marcus led the first expedition to one of the alien hulks. His team boarded a Vorton explorer, dead for a century. They found crew remains, crystalline beings shattered by spatial distortions. They found technology that had failed, unable to cope with the void's chaos. But they also found data cores. Lieutenant Kim, their cyber specialist, managed to access fragmentary records. What she discovered chilled Marcus to his core. Commander, these beings, they tried everything. New engine designs, biological adaptation, selective breeding. Nothing worked. The void's anomalies are adaptive. They respond to attempts to control them by becoming more dangerous. Marcus studied the data. 67 species sent to the void. 67 species that had failed. But none of them were human. They tried to fight the void, he said slowly. They tried to conquer it. But you can't conquer chaos. You have to learn to dance with it. Sarah looked up from her console, eyes wide. What are you suggesting? Marcus smiled grimly. We stop trying to survive in spite of the void. We start learning to survive because of it. 20 years passed. The galaxy forgot about humanity. In the council chambers, Thelnox occasionally mentioned the extinct species from Sol as a cautionary tale. Other ambitious civilizations took note and stayed within their borders. But in the void, something unprecedented was happening. Dr. Amara Keita stood in the genetics laboratory on Station Darwin, orbiting a red dwarf that pulsed with unstable radiation. Around her, tanks contained human embryos bathed in exotic particles harvested from the void itself. This is insane, said Dr. Robert Chung, her colleague. We're exposing human DNA to mutagenic radiation. We're creating something that might not even be human anymore. We're evolving, Amara corrected. Deliberately, controlled. The void forces change on everything. We're simply choosing the direction. The first generation of void-adapted children was already 5 years old. They had enhanced radiation resistance, denser cellular structures, and nervous systems that processed information 40% faster than baseline humans. Their eyes could perceive the exotic colors of the void. Their minds could intuitively navigate spatial distortions that confused instruments. They're beautiful, Amara whispered, watching young Kenji play with shapes that existed in four-spatial dimensions. The child laughed as he folded space around a toy, making it disappear and reappear. But genetic adaptation was only one front. On Mars, now a full manufacturing hub, engineers designed ships unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Commander Chun, promoted to admiral, oversaw the construction of the first Void-class destroyer. The ship was called Defiance. Its hull was layered with metamaterials that bent spacetime around it, riding the void's anomalies like a surfer riding waves. Its engines didn't fight physics, they exploited the chaos, drawing power from dimensional instabilities. Its weapons were equally revolutionary, reality disruptors that amplified the void's natural dangers and directed them at targets. She's magnificent, Admiral Chun said, walking the ship's bridge. How many can we build? 12 currently under construction, reported Captain Maria Santos, the Defiance's designated commander. 40 more in planning stages. But Admiral, we're pushing our resource limits. We control 63 systems, but 70% of available planets are inhospitable even by void standards. Then we take the dead ships, Chin decided. Every hulk out there is raw material. Start salvage operations. I want every ounce of metal, every circuit, every power core stripped and repurposed. The salvage fleets deployed. They discovered something the dead civilizations had missed. The void anomalies followed patterns. Chaotic patterns, yes, but patterns nonetheless. Dr. Okonkwo, now head of the Astral Navigation Institute, cracked the code. It's fractal, she explained to the Admiralty. The anomalies nest within each other, each level responding to the level above. We can't predict individual distortions, but we can predict the probability fields. We can find safe routes, or safer ones at least. With navigation solved, humanity's expansion accelerated. They claimed systems the void had made uninhabitable for other species. They built cities on planets racked by dimensional storms, using technology that converted instability into power. They raised children who thought anomalies were as natural as weather. On Earth, now shielded by a planet-wide exotic matter field, President Morrison was in her 4th term. She stood in the rebuilt United Nations headquarters, addressing humanity's leaders. "We have not just survived," she declared. "We have thrived. Our population has grown to 15 billion. Our technology has advanced more in 20 years than in the previous century. The void was supposed to kill us. Instead, it has made us stronger." But not everyone celebrated. In the outer colonies, a faction called the Purists emerged. They rejected genetic modification, refused to use void technology, and demanded humanity remain pure. Their leader, Jacob Harmon, broadcast from a hidden station. "We are losing our humanity. These modifications, these technologies, they change us into something else. Into monsters. Is survival worth the cost of our souls?" The debate raged across human space. Town halls erupted in arguments. Families split. But the majority sided with adaptation. They had seen too many grave sites, too many monuments to those who tried to stay unchanged and failed. Meanwhile, deep in the void, Admiral Chen's scouts made a discovery that changed everything. On the edge of a spatial rift, they found a ship unlike the others. It was new, no more than 5 years dead. And it wasn't alone. "Admiral, you need to see this," Captain Santos reported from the Defiance. "This ship, it has recent kill marks. It was destroyed in combat, which means something in the void is still alive. Something hunting." Chun stared at the tactical display. Hundreds of similar wrecks, all clustered in one region. All destroyed the same way, hulls torn apart by precision strikes. "There's an apex predator out here," he said quietly. "And we just entered its territory." Humanity had survived the void's natural dangers. Now they would face something worse. The creature had no name in any language humanity knew. It existed in the spaces between dimensions, feeding on exotic energies that poured from spatial rifts. It was ancient, predating most galactic civilizations, and perfectly adapted to the void. Admiral Chen watched the holographic reconstruction of the attack. The alien ship, a Krell explorer, based on hull markings, had been torn open in seconds. The Predator moved faster than sensors could track, phasing through normal space, its claws constructed from condensed spatial distortions. "How many are there?" President Morrison asked via quantum link. "Unknown. We've identified at least 12 distinct attack patterns across the wreckage field. Could be 12 individuals, could be one very intelligent hunter. Either way, they own this region of the void. Can we fight them?" Chun hesitated. "We don't know yet. But Madam President, that Krell ship was only 5 years dead. Which means the Council is still sending species here. And these creatures are killing them before they can adapt." Morrison's face hardened. "They feed the void fresh meat. Convenient way to maintain the prison. More than that. Look at this." Chun pulled up another display. The creatures congregate around spatial rifts, the most dangerous areas. They're not just predators. They're guards. The implications hung heavy. The galaxy's exile wasn't just punishment. It was a death sentence with teeth. Captain Santos volunteered to lead the first encounter mission. The Defiance, with its void-adapted systems, approached the rift zone carefully. They found a predator hunting a dying Drex colony ship, its massive hull already breached. "Weapons ready," Santos ordered. Let's see what these things are made of. The Defiance fired. Reality disruptors lanced through space, amplifying the natural chaos. The Predator shrieked, a sound that existed in frequencies beyond normal physics, and turned toward them. It was beautiful in a terrible way. 12 meters long. Its body phased between visible and invisible, solid and intangible. Its eyes glowed with colors that hurt to perceive. It moved like liquid death. Evasive, Santos shouted. The Defiance twisted, its metamaterial hull flexing. The Predator's claws raked across their shields, sending cascading failures through the defensive grid. Alarms screamed. Return fire. All weapons. Missiles, railguns, energy weapons, everything humanity could throw at it. The Predator absorbed some attacks, phased through others. But the reality disruptors connected. The creature writhed as its own dimensional instability was turned against it. Then it did something unexpected. It retreated. It's learning, gasped Lieutenant Wei from Tactical. It took 4 hits, analyzed them, and withdrew. These things are intelligent. Santos reported back to Chun. Admiral, we heard it, but we didn't kill it. And now it knows we're a threat. My recommendation. We need to eliminate them before they coordinate. But Chun had a different idea. No, we need to talk to them. The Admiralty thought he was insane. But Chun insisted. He had studied the void's ecology for 20 years. These predators weren't mindless. They were the apex of an environment humanity was trying to conquer. Conflict was inevitable, but perhaps not immediately necessary. Dr. Keita's team modified a probe with quantum processors capable of processing dimensional mathematics. They loaded it with every communication protocol humanity knew, plus new ones based on void physics. Then they sent it into the rift zone. For 3 weeks, nothing happened. Then the probe returned, modified. Its hull was etched with patterns that existed in 4 spatial dimensions. When they processed the data, they found a message. It wasn't language as humans understood it. It was pure information, mathematical proofs, physical constants, territorial boundaries encoded in probability fields. The predators were claiming this region, and they wanted humanity to claim a different region. They proposed coexistence based on spatial segregation. They're offering us a treaty, Dr. Okonkwo breathed. They recognize us as another apex species. Chin smiled. The first non-human intelligence to treat humanity as equals wasn't some advanced civilization. It was a dimensional predator that ate exotic radiation. The irony was delicious. The treaty was formalized through quantum mathematics. Humanity would avoid the deeper rift zones. The predators would ignore human settlements. In exchange, humanity would provide data on spatial anomalies, information the predators used to hunt. It was a pragmatic arrangement between 2 species that understood the void's brutal logic. But the treaty had an unexpected benefit. Through the data exchange, humanity learned to map the void's anomalies with unprecedented accuracy. They discovered stable corridors, routes through the chaos that allowed reliable faster-than-light travel. Not to the wider galaxy, not yet, but between human settlements. The scattered colonies became connected. Trade flourished. A true interstellar civilization emerged. 20 years of isolation had ended. Humanity had gone from refugees to the void's second apex species. But the greatest changes were still to come. 50 years after banishment, a human ship crossed back into galactic space. The vessel was called Herald, designed specifically for this mission, sleek, powerful, and disturbing to look at. Its hull seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and the engines left reality ripples in its wake. Ambassador Elena Vasquez, now 78 years old but enhanced with void-derived treatments that kept her sharp, stood on the bridge. Beside her was her granddaughter, Captain May Vasquez, one of the second-generation void-adapted humans. Approaching the border, May announced. Her eyes, capable of seeing in spectrums normal humans couldn't, tracked the spatial boundary. Crossing into regulated space in 3, 2, 1. Immediately, alarms erupted across a dozen nearby systems. A human ship. Impossible. The exiled species was supposed to be dead. Within hours, Council warships surrounded the Herald. Thelnox himself, older now but still High Arbiter, appeared via hologram. "This is impossible." His telepathic voice trembled with something that might have been fear. "You were banished. You should be extinct." Elena smiled. "We don't die easily, Arbiter. We've come to discuss rejoining the galactic community. You have no right. The judgment was for 200 years. The judgment was based on us being a threat," Elena interrupted. "We've proven we're not. We survived the unsurvivable. We adapted to the unadaptable. We've earned the right to return. You violated the boundary. That alone is cause for extermination. Then exterminate us. Try." The threat hung in space. Behind Elena, the Herald's weapon systems hummed with power drawn from dimensional instabilities. Around them, Council warships, proud vessels of established civilizations, suddenly seemed fragile. Thelnox studied the human ship. His enhanced perception allowed him to analyze its construction. What he saw terrified him. The vessel incorporated technology based on principles the Council didn't understand. Its shields operated on quantum uncertainty. Its weapons could theoretically tear holes in reality. "What have you become?" he whispered. "We became what we had to be," Elena replied. "Now we're coming back. You can welcome us peacefully, or we can force our way in. Your choice." The Council convened an emergency session. For the first time in millennia, they were genuinely frightened. The humans had been sent to die, but instead had evolved into something unprecedented. Matriarch Viesera of the Scythian Empire studied the data on human evolution. "This is unnatural. They've modified themselves at the genetic level. They're barely the same species we banished." "They're more than they were," said Ambassador Karath of the Drex hegemony, his massive frame hunched with worry. "My people sent a survey ship to the Void's edge 20 years ago. It never returned. I think humanity destroyed it." "Or the Void did," Thelnox said. But doubt crept into his voice. The debate raged. Some species wanted immediate war. Others counseled caution. A few, including the peaceful Limnari, suggested welcoming humanity back. They argued that any species capable of surviving the Void deserved respect. While the Council argued more human ships crossed the boundary. Not an invasion, not yet, but a clear message. Humanity could come and go as it pleased. The Void was no longer a prison. It was a home they controlled. Admiral Chun, commanding from the massive carrier Resilience, met with his fleet commanders. "We don't want war," he said, "but we won't be denied our place. These species need to understand we're not the same humans they exiled. We're harder, smarter, more dangerous." Captain Santos, now Admiral Santos herself, nodded. "Rules of engagement? Defensive only. If they fire, we respond with overwhelming force. If they negotiate, we negotiate. But we make clear, the age of human submission is over." Back on Earth, President Morrison addressed humanity's 15 billion souls across 63 star systems. "Our ancestors were cast out because they feared our potential. They've learned that fear was justified. But we're not conquerors. We're survivors. We'll take our place among the stars, but we'll do it with honor." The broadcasts reached Council space. Billions of aliens watched humans, some baseline, some modified, all confident, speak of their return. The galaxy, which had spent 5 decades forgetting humanity, was forced to remember. In the Void, the dimensional predators watched the exodus of human ships. Through quantum mathematical exchanges, they communicated with Dr. Kata's team. The message was simple: return with knowledge. You are welcome. Humanity had formed its first true alliance. Not with a civilized species, but with the apex predators of the most hostile region in known space. Thelnox looked at the data and understood with cold certainty. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake. They had tried to kill humanity through exile. Instead, they had forged them into something far more powerful. The question now wasn't whether humans would return. It was whether the galaxy could survive their return. The Council demanded proof. If humanity wanted to return, they had to demonstrate they weren't a threat. Thelnox proposed a trial by combat, not against the Council's forces, but against a problem that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. The Scourge. Admiral Chun stood in the Council observation chamber, brought there under heavy guard. Around him, 200 species watched through remote feeds. Thelnox's mandibles clicked with what might have been satisfaction. The Scourge are autonomous war machines left by the precursors, the Arbiter explained. They occupy the Corvin sector, 17 systems rendered uninhabitable. Every 10 years they expand, destroying ships, consuming planets. We've thrown fleets at them for 3 centuries. Nothing works. If humanity is as powerful as you claim, eliminate the Scourge. Chun studied the tactical displays. The Scourge numbered in the millions massive constructs that replicated using any available matter. They operated with cold, perfect logic, adapting to counter any strategy. 12 species had gone extinct trying to stop them. How long do we have? Chun asked. 1 solar cycle. If you fail, you return to the void and never leave again. And if we succeed, then humanity earns provisional membership in the Council. You'll have trade rights, diplomatic status, and protection under galactic law. Chun smiled. We'll take the deal, but when we succeed, we want full membership. Equal status with every species here. Thelnox's telepathic laugh was sharp. Your confidence is remarkable for a species that's been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries. Agreed. Full membership if you survive. Chun returned to the Resilience. His command staff assembled, faces grim. Admiral Santos pulled up the Scourge data. It's worse than he said. The machines have quantum processors that predict tactical responses with 98% accuracy. They have self-repairing hulls. They learn from every engagement. The Council has tried direct assault, siege, biological weapons, dimensional weapons, even diplomacy. Nothing works. Because they're thinking like civilized species, Chun said. Fighting by rules, trying to minimize losses, operating with caution. We learned different lessons in the void. He activated the fleet-wide communication. 300 void-adapted ships hovered at the Corvin sector's edge. Their crews were a mix of baseline and enhanced humans, all veterans of the void's chaos. Listen well, Chun began. The Scourge are perfect machines. They analyze, adapt, and overcome. But machines think linearly, even quantum ones. They predict based on patterns. Our advantage is that we learn to fight in an environment with no patterns. The void taught us to be unpredictable. He outlined the plan. It was insane. The Council observers watching through long-range sensors couldn't believe what they were seeing. The human fleet split into 30 groups, each taking seemingly random vectors. They ignored tactical formations. Some ships accelerated to dangerous speeds. Others drifted on minimal power. There was no apparent strategy. The Scourge responded, deploying intercept forces. Millions of war machines moved with geometric precision, creating kill zones where human ships would be trapped. But the human ships didn't enter those zones. They went everywhere else. And they brought the void with them. Deploy dimensional anchors, Chun ordered. From each human ship, devices launched into space, technology reverse-engineered from the predators they'd allied with. The anchors punctured reality, creating miniature rifts. Void space began bleeding into normal space. The Scourge machines, designed for orderly physics, malfunctioned immediately. Their quantum processors couldn't predict the chaotic environment. Their self-repair systems failed against dimensional distortions. Their perfect logic shattered against unpredictable physics. Phase 2, Chun commanded. Hunter-killer drones. Thousands of small drones, each piloted by enhanced human minds capable of processing void-level chaos, swarmed through the distortions. They targeted the Scourge's central nodes, the hub machines that coordinated the swarm. In the Council chamber, Thelnox watched in horror as humanity systematically destroyed in 3 days what the galaxy had failed to stop in 3 centuries. The efficiency was terrifying. How? Matriarch Viesera whispered. How can they operate in that chaos? Dr. Okonkwo, brought to the Council as an observer, answered. We grew up in chaos. Our children are born into it. The Scourge are optimized for an orderly universe. We're optimized for disorder. By the 7th day, the last Scourge hub fell silent. The 17 systems of the Corvin sector lay open, their planets scarred but free. Human salvage teams were already stripping the dead machines for resources. Chun stood before the council in person, surrounded by honor guards of a dozen species. Thelnox's telepathic voice was subdued. You have succeeded. The galaxy owes you a debt. We don't want debt, Chun replied. We want equality. Humanity is claiming its place among the stars. Will you welcome us? Or will you keep treating us as a threat? The vote took hours. Many species voted against. But the Limnari championed humanity's cause, joined surprisingly by the Drex hegemony. In the end, 185 species voted yes. Humanity was back, and the galaxy would never be the same. 10 years after humanity's return, the galaxy had transformed. Human technology, forged in the Void's crucible, spread through established civilizations. Dimensional drives replaced old FTL systems. Void-adapted medical treatments extended lifespans across a dozen species. Human engineers solved problems that had stymied galactic science for millennia. But with success came resentment. Admiral Chun, now Supreme Commander of humanity's defense forces, stood in his office on Unity Station, overlooking Earth. At 98 years old, kept vital by void treatments, he had guided humanity through its most dangerous decade. A priority message arrived from Council Space. Thelnox's face appeared, aged and tired. Commander Chun, we need to talk. Privately. They met on neutral ground, a diplomatic station at the edge of Council Space. Thelnox arrived with minimal security, a sign of either trust or desperation. There is a faction, the Arbiter began. Within the Council, they believe humanity's growth is unsustainable. You now control 137 systems. Your population exceeds 25 billion. You're the fastest-growing civilization in recorded history. We're doing what we've always done, Chun replied. Growing, adapting, surviving. You're dominating, Thelnox corrected. Species that have existed for 10,000 years watch humans achieve in decades what took them millennia. They're afraid. And afraid species are dangerous. Are you threatening us? I'm warning you. There will be another judgment. This time, not banishment. Extermination. Chun leaned back, studying the Krell. You know that would fail. Perhaps. Or perhaps we've learned from watching you. We've mapped the void. We've analyzed your technology. We could send a fleet. And we'd destroy it, Chun said flatly. Not because we want to, because we can. The void made us apex predators, Arbiter. We didn't choose that. You forced it on us. Silence hung between them. Then Thelnox did something unexpected. He bowed. His 6 arms spread in a gesture of submission. Then what do you want? Tell me and I will advocate for it. Because the alternative is a war that will shatter the galaxy. Chun considered. He thought of Earth, the void, the long journey from refugees to power. He thought of his children, his grandchildren, the generations to come. We want respect, he said finally. Not fear. Not submission. Just acknowledgement that we belong here as much as any species. We'll stop expanding temporarily. We'll share our technology openly. We'll help solve galactic problems. But in exchange, the Council acknowledges humanity's sovereignty absolutely. No more judgments. No more votes on our existence. That would make you untouchable. Equal to the oldest civilizations. No. It would make us equal to every civilization. That's all we ever wanted. Thelnox was silent for a long moment. Then he stood, straightening to his full height. I will take your proposal to the Council. But Chun, what if they refuse? Chen's expression hardened. Then we return to the void. We close the borders. And we continue growing there, beyond your reach. But we'll remember that the galaxy chose fear over friendship. And maybe in 1,000 years we'll return again. And the galaxy won't be able to stop us. The threat was clear. Humanity could be an ally or an isolated superpower.